Blood in Warsaw. Resistance amid ruins.
But before we start, please support us by pressing like and subscribe buttons. Also turn on the bell notification to get the latest updates. Your support means a lot to us. Thank you.
Warsaw, the heart of Poland, was once a city of life, culture, and endurance. Its cobbled streets echoed with the laughter of children. Its cafes buzzed with politics and poetry, and its citizens, Jews and Catholics, workers and scholars, coexisted in a fragile but spirited harmony. But all of that changed on September 1st, 1939. With the thunder of Luftwaffe bombers and the roar of Wehrmacht tanks, the German war machine descended upon Poland, igniting a global inferno. World War II had begun. The Nazi invasion of Poland was swift and brutal, the first test of Hitler's Blitzkrieg or Lightning War. Within hours, German planes darkened the skies above Warsaw, unleashing bombs upon civilian targets. Hospitals, schools, homes, nothing was spared. For the citizens of Warsaw, the war began not with soldiers marching, but with buildings collapsing, sirens wailing and families fleeing through fire and rubble. At the center of it all stood young Janek Zielinski, a university student who had been studying history just weeks before the invasion. Janek, like many in Warsaw, was stunned by the speed and ferocity of the attack. He had grown up hearing stories of Polish uprisings and foreign occupations, but this was annihilation. Within days, Janek traded his books for a rifle. Along with other young men and women, he joined Warsaw's fledgling resistance. The Polish army, valiant but under-equipped, fought fiercely to defend the capital. Outnumbered and outgunned, they resisted the Wehrmacht's advance for nearly a month. Warsaw, unlike many cities, did not surrender easily. Its defenders built barricades from rubble and overturned trams. Snipers positioned themselves in ruined apartment blocks. Doctors treated the wounded in candlelit basements. The city bled, but it did not bow. By mid-September, Warsaw was encircled. Supplies dwindled. Food became scarce. Water lines were shattered, forcing civilians to draw from the polluted Vistula River. The air was thick with dust and the stench of death. Still, the resistance held on, refusing to give the Nazis the swift victory they had expected. In a battered church near Plac Teatralny, Janek met Zofia Lewandowska, a nurse who had been working without rest since the bombings began. Zofia was no stranger to hardship. Her father had fought in the Great War. Her mother died during the Polish-Soviet conflict in 1920. Yet even she was unprepared for the horror unfolding around her. Together, Janek and Zofia became unlikely partners, not only in survival, but in hope. They carried messages between resistance cells, smuggled food to trapped families, and recorded Nazi movements in battered notebooks. At night, they met in bombed-out buildings to plan escape routes and spread news of Polish resilience to the outside world. They were joined by priests, students, even retired schoolteachers, all united by the belief that Warsaw must not fall quietly, but the weight of war was relentless. On September 25th, the Luftwaffe launched the single most devastating bombing raid of the siege, nicknamed Black Monday. Thousands of bombs rained down on Warsaw in a single day. The royal castle was reduced to ashes. Hospitals were flattened. Children's bodies lay in the streets, their hands still clutching toys. The city had become a graveyard of memories. Even as fire consumed her surroundings, Zofia refused to abandon her post. In the crypt beneath the church, she tended to the wounded by lamplight, her hands trembling but determined. Janek, limping from a collapsed wall that had crushed his leg, insisted on continuing their work. Pain, hunger, fear, none of it stopped them. "We are Warsaw," Janek whispered. "As long as we breathe, this city lives." On September 27th, after 26 days of siege, Warsaw capitulated. The city, surrounded, starving and in ruins, could no longer resist. Over 20,000 civilians had died. Tens of thousands more were wounded or homeless. The Nazis marched into a shell of a city, triumphant in conquest but wary of the spirit they had not broken. In the weeks that followed, Hitler paraded his generals in Berlin, declaring the swift defeat of Poland as proof of Nazi superiority. But beneath the ruins of Warsaw, resistance did not die. It merely changed form. Janek, Zofia, and countless others faded into the underground. They joined what would become the Polish underground state, one of the largest and most sophisticated resistance movements in occupied Europe. They printed illegal newspapers, sabotaged German trains, and educated children in secret, flying classrooms. They waited, plotted, and endured. The Nazi occupation of Warsaw brought even greater horrors: ghettos, executions, deportations. The Warsaw Ghetto alone became a symbol of unimaginable suffering. But the seeds of resistance planted in those first days of September 1939 grew deeper roots. In those early moments of war, Poland had been left to fend for itself. Britain and France, though they declared war on Germany, took little immediate action. Many Poles felt abandoned, yet they did not stop fighting. From the first bomb that fell on Warsaw to the final desperate act of resistance years later, in the Warsaw Uprising of 1944, the Polish spirit remained unbroken. Janek and Zofia survived the war. Barely. Janek lost an eye during a sabotage mission. In 1942, Zofia was arrested in 1943 but escaped during a transfer. They reunited in 1945 in the shell of their city, surrounded by rubble and ghosts. Warsaw was no longer the place they had known, but they were determined to rebuild it. "Warsaw is not its buildings," Zofia said, as they stood before the remnants of the royal castle. "It is its people. Its heart beats in us." And so they began again, like many others, with bare hands and a defiant will. Warsaw would rise from its ruins, but it would never forget the blood that had been spilled on its streets. Epilogue: the fire that never went out. The invasion of Poland in 1939 marked the beginning of one of history's darkest chapters. For Warsaw, it was the moment the world shattered, and yet also the moment it discovered its deepest strength. What the Nazis failed to destroy was the spirit of resistance, the unity of its people, and the belief that even amid ruins, freedom was worth fighting for. Blood in Warsaw was not just the price of war, it was the ink in which a story of resilience was written. The fires burned for days, casting a hellish glow over the Vistula River. Smoke curled into the autumn sky, blotting out the sun, while ash settled like snow across the city's shattered rooftops. Every corner of Warsaw whispered loss, of families torn apart, of neighborhoods turned to dust, of dreams buried beneath stone and steel. Yet among the ruins, there remained an eerie kind of order. Neighbors helped dig survivors from the rubble. Priests conducted mass in open courtyards, and children, ever resilient, played among the ruins with sticks for swords. Amid the carnage, Warsaw's radio operators continued broadcasting until the very end. Crackling through the static, a voice rang out to the world, hoarse but unyielding. "Warsaw is fighting. Poland is not yet lost." The words traveled beyond borders, reaching Polish émigrés in Paris and London, stirring hearts and calls to action.
Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe if you like videos like this. Thank you.